With the beloved series that have received an outstanding amount of game tie-ins, Arc System Works have managed to create a game that stands out from all the rest by perfectly representing creator Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball art style. Already having a strong fighting pedigree under their belt, Dragon Ball FighterZ also offers extremely compelling gameplay that isn't too complicated and becomes increasingly more fun the longer you play it. Fans of Dragon Ball find themselves overflowing with joy for every last level of polish and consideration given, with newcomers fighting a superb fast-paced fighting game that manages to deliver a fascinatingly epic experience in a way that Dragon Ball only could.
Alright, let's do this!
Right away, Arc System Works needs to be commended for the visuals on display. Their previous titles in the BlazBlue and Guilty Gear franchises also look great, but Dragon Ball FighterZ takes it to another level. It is incredibly impressive how 3D assets can be made to look exactly like their 2D counterpart. Every last animation and graphical detail matches perfectly to the Dragon Ball series, creating a level of immersion that quickly sweeps you up into its universe. Each signature Kamehameha blast is a visual spectacle complemented greatly by the exhaustive scream dialogue. For fans of the anime, most of the original English and Japanese voice cast reprise their roles, with strong deliveries regardless of which one you prefer. It is abundantly clear that the English voice actors weren't given the animation to dub to, but even with the poor sync up, every moment still has the same dramatic flair that is to be expected with a Dragon Ball game. The gameplay further amplifies these vibes through a variety of impressive and exhilarating fights. A 3-on-3 fighting mechanic is implemented in which you can quickly switch out a character in order to recover HP, or use additional attacks for a more powerful combo. These transitions between characters grants not only a more graphically satisfying moments, but also adds more complexity to the battle system and mechanics to enable further room to improve for new players.
Do it, Krillin. Oh, come on.
Dragon Ball FighterZ offers many seemingly simplistic systems that quickly creates a high level of play when they are all combined together. There are light, medium and heavy attacks all linked to one of the specific 4 core buttons, with the other being used for the ranged ability. Interestingly, by simply pressing the light or medium buttons repeatedly, an auto combo is triggered that can do quite a lot of damage and even trigger a super move. This inclusion works as a way for first timers to feel they are doing some awesome attacks, but also aren't so overpowered that players who have mastered simple combos are affected by them. Additionally, there is a button to quickly charge towards your opponent that feels distinctly Dragon Ball, and creates exhilarating battles that have you relentlessly involved in a match as opposed to the downtime found in other fighting games. It also deflects weak incoming projectiles to remove the frustration of being range spam attacked, and there's also a vanish move that puts you behind your enemy by using 1 bar of your ki gauge. This meter can be built up in the heat of battle by either forcibly charging it, or simply through the battle itself, and can be used to perform stronger attacks and super moves. Although each character has different abilities and attacks, the input controls are close to universal between all of them that make it easy to pick up a new fighter or enjoy playing as them. Some are closer than others, but there are characters that have very unique abilities such as Android 16, who can sacrifice himself to defeat another character, or Captain Ginyu, who has a special move to swap bodies with his opponent, including their health bar. This unique moveset and how different characters can be used to assist each other creates the endgame level of complexity to become a better player. There is also a skill called Sparking Blast that can be used at any point to make your combos more powerful and recover health without having to swap out your current fighter. It only lasts for a limited time though, and gets better as you become closer to losing, often enabling a last-ditch effort that can pay off if used effectively. Making sure to manage your team of 3 efficiently by switching them out when taking heavy damage to recover health is very important to improve match performance. Additionally, the iconic Shinra can be summoned by collecting 7 Dragon Balls via the auto combo in battle or certain hit lengths, as well as having a max out ki gauge and then getting another final combo hit in before your opponent. A wish is then granted that can turn the tide of battle, such as revive a fallen ally or get a second Sparking Blast. At first I thought this mechanic would be a bit broken, but due to the speed at which fights occur, it is actually very difficult to obtain when trying to win a match. In actual matches, it becomes an extremely rare occurrence that makes it incredibly epic when it does, but even then, it is only likely to happen when a player is actively going for it, making their combos easy to deal with.
You any one wish. Farewell.
For players who wish to improve on their skills, a thorough collection of tutorial systems are available that can be used to practice with a character. Other than the usual never-ending practice mode, there is also a battle tutorial that highlights all the main features and mechanics you need to learn, from blocking and repelling attacks to triggering super moves. There's also a more in-depth character tutorial that has you learning specific useful moves for anyone from the Dragon Ball FighterZ roster. Now the roster isn't the biggest, with 24 available at launch, but each feature their own unique moveset, and there is more than enough that one of your favourite Dragon Ball characters is likely to be included. Also, certain members of the roster also include appearances of other Dragon Ball characters, such as Android 18, whose move feature her twin Android 17 showing up. Technically, you only start with 21 characters initially, with the remaining 3 having to be unlocked. I personally prefer this though, as it makes playing specific modes feel more rewarding. The main mode that isn't online is the story mode, which actually is quite involved. Rather than simply going over old ground as past Dragon Ball games have tended to do, this is an entirely new story set somewhere during the events of the current Dragon Ball Super anime. Essentially, Goku and his friends all have had their powers mysteriously restricted, past villains have been revived, and there is a clone army of certain members of the roster hunting down their originals. The game doesn't quite break the fourth wall, but it basically treats the player as a human spirit that inhabits their bodies, granting them access to their true power. It isn't really necessary, but it does offer some justification for why characters like Yamcha and Vegeta can compete on the same level. There's also the inclusion of a brand new character called Android 21, who is closely tied to the events occurring and fits in well with the rest of the cast. The story is spread over 3 arcs that have alternative takes on the game's narrative and actually introduce quite a long playtime that pushes easily into double digits. This is because the story has an RPG type system that has you working your way through a grid where you defeat various clones, fight tougher bosses, and level up your current team. Certain clones also grant access to playable characters or abilities that can improve your overall strengths, such as doing more damage or having more health, which actually remains what it last was between fights. It isn't a particularly difficult mode, but you can avoid more challenging fights and go straight for each map's boss, creating somewhat of a custom difficulty. The problem is the story does have you going through the same clones again and again with little uniqueness that it starts to wear out its welcome and feel a bit padded. Its narrative also isn't anything very imaginative or groundbreaking, but does create some very interesting situations that are sure to appeal to fans such as Frieza and Cell teaming up. As a Dragon Ball fan, I can most definitely say I enjoyed seeing the large collection of custom encounters, but the game puts no effort in explaining anything from the past, so for the uninformed, a lot of this could come off as quite confusing.
Okay, I'm Goten's dad, but I'm not Trunks' dad, so... Hey, Vegeta, what do you think?
Oh, like I care! Quit wasting my time with such nonsense!
Sorry.
Now you've gone and done it.
You too, Kakarot!
The story mode does offer gameplay that is compelling enough to make it worthwhile though, regardless of your knowledge of the series, but what you get out of it will vary. For those who really enjoy it though, it's possible to complete the arcs again on a harder difficulty to further level up characters and get improved abilities. Also, the special encounter cutscenes also occur on certain locations and team build-ups, so it'll take multiple playthroughs to see them all. In addition to the unique story mode, there is the usual fighting game modes with arcade, local or online matches. Arcade mode has you fighting your way through a course of pre-designed teams that, depending on how well you perform, is what branch you'll take for additional fights. It creates an interesting structure as opposed to just the procedural fighting tower that most games feature, and has you wanting to perform better to stay on the top path. Locally, you can play with a friend that allows you to fulfill a fan's wish list of battle scenarios, and the game rewards you by granting you access to dramatic finishes and intros that represent iconic Dragon Ball events. These surprises present a continuous example of the understanding and love this game has for the Dragon Ball series, adding that extra level of polish. With the exception of a lack of alternative costumes for characters other than the simple colour swap, Arc and Works have gone out of their way to offer everything they can to excite fans.
No! Don't, Frieza! Go! How dare you! Hey, you'll pay for this! What?
When it comes to playing online, FighterZ features a collection of modes that all present an option for people with different criteria. You initially select a region or lobby you prefer, which is where a collection of likewise players can be found. This lobby is an open area that has access to all the modes and grants ability to roam around some Dragon Ball locations. Your avatar can change from a variety of Dragon Ball characters, with many not featured in the game, and stamps of various character expressions can be used to communicate with other players. These items can only be attained by purchasing random loot items using the Zeni currency you get from doing literally everything in this game. It doesn't include anything other than cosmetic items, and is really just a way to give players something to unlock throughout enjoying the game, although it would be better without the random aspect. Playing online ranked mode is the main highlight that has you facing opponents based on your current rank level. Versing an actual real person is a competitive treat, and is where you really get to put your skills to the test.
I continue to improve.
The online servers find matches relatively quickly, and there are indicators in a match for the actual frame delay so skilled players can accommodate. For the most case, when I was in the appropriate region, the delays were low, and for those very concerned, you can filter out to only players with a high connection speed. It is also possible to play just against people in your lobby via arena matches, however I found this to be the most problematic, often not being matched to an opponent even if there were clearly ones available. It was really the only time I noticed network issues, and I would expect it to be fixed with a future update. As an alternative method, you can create your own ring that works fine, and allows you to set up your own mini tournament with specific conditions. Watching replays or even live matches is also another option that is a viable way to see high skill combatants play. Stamps can be used to add commentary, which can be turned off if a bit distracting, and even fighters' moves can be displayed, offering some potential tips for dedicated players. Overall, online is fully featured and has everything you could want to enjoy with incredibly fast and engaging gameplay.
Impossible!
Dragon Ball FighterZ is a game that distinctly represents the best bits of its inspired series. They'll have fans crying out with delight, but also presenting a palatable experience for newcomers to the franchise. With an extremely strong gameplay design that enables fulfilling combos to be achieved at the bottom level, to sophisticated interconnection and mechanics for fighting game experts to master, there is something for gamers of all levels to enjoy. Arc System Works has effectively managed to accomplish a truly special game that is fun no matter how you would consume it. Playing and improving in Dragon Ball FighterZ makes you understand what it's like to ascend to the level of Super Saiyan. Thanks so much for watching this review, and if you enjoyed it then please subscribe for more gaming and geeky content.
Goku isn't the only Super Saiyan.